Alright, what is up YouTube? It's Cord Campbell, Coding Mitta. Back again today, episode 16, Solar Searching, or Soul Searching maybe, on the search for a startup. I have my laptop over here today, and the reason I have it over here is because, there we go, I have to have somewhere to have chat. So I've got chat running on my laptop so that I can see if somebody comes in. Yesterday I had 2 people come in, and I think one of them said hello and I missed you, and I'm sorry I missed you. This has been about me so far, really me talking and then watching myself later. I don't watch all of it, but I watch a large percentage of what I'm doing just so that I can get feedback. And I know that I'm a little rambly sometimes, so I notice that I go off on some tangent. So I'm going to try hard not to do that today and stay on topic and stick to the subject matter at hand, which is trying to get search running today. I'm sort of on the fence about. I go off into these explanations about how stuff works, and then I get off into the weeds, and so I try to keep it tight. So maybe if I just kind of give a brief overview, maybe, of the site each time that I start a stream, that'd probably be the easiest thing to do, and then I could just move on from it and not get off into the weeds about something. So Mitta is what I'm working on. It's a startup. I have worked in search for about 20 years. And it's a search startup. It has something to do with search. So it's actually a crawler and a search engine. And I've worked hard to try to figure out the right approach to putting together a search offering. There's a lot of intellectual property out there right now around searching and crawling and things like that, obviously with Google and whatnot, bookmarking, URLs, remembering URLs. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. The search industry has grown over the years since I started doing search. It's grown immensely. I think it went from back when I did Grub in Oklahoma back in early like 99. We started Grub, I think, in 1999, crawling the web, and maybe at that point in time there was less than 100 search companies, well under 100 search companies, maybe like 50 or so. And now it's just thousands, probably 4,000 to 5,000 search companies. And when I say search companies that are into search or use some type of search as their base offering, and which could include crawling the web. Like DuckDuckGo would be an example of that, but it could also be something like AdRoll, which is providing some type of advertising for the web. Which advertising is related to search. A lot of times search engines are used for advertising. So excuse me. With Mitta, and I need to listen to myself again. I need to commit to doing that every stream. Yeah, I sound okay. I don't want to repeat that bad sound problem from the last time. So whenever you look at this, just briefly, I'm clicking on it. So that's me. This is me. This should be me on this computer. And then this is me popping into this window. So if you pop away from the window, then it subtracts a user. So somehow they know that you're not looking at that. So Mitta is something that I conceived a while ago when I was working on my house. I wasn't working on anything else at the time, and I had worked in search. Recently, have worked in search, doing consulting for a company that writes open source software, and the idea behind Mitta is essentially letting users, regular everyday users, use Solr. So Solr is on the back end of this. I use Solr for the indexer for this, and with a custom crawler that I've written, and then a custom UI to set on top of Solr. And so what I wanted to do was be able to expose the functionality of Solr to everyday users. And then the question was, well, how do you do that? And a common use case for a search engine is to index the web. And so I wanted to be able to index the web, but I didn't want to have to go through parsing the web page whenever it crawled it. I do a little bit of parsing. If you've watched some of the episodes, some of the streams, you'll see that I go in and we use, in soup, we use some beautiful soup to extract the title and description, but that's just the basic stuff that is done for going into a web page. Web pages are so difficult to parse. I elected to do it a different way, which is just to take a screenshot of the page itself. So with Mitta takes a screenshot of a web page, or it lets you upload your own images. If you want to take a picture of a web page, you can do that and upload it as well. We'll eventually have a little plugin that does that for you. Or you can just upload images that you took over the weekend, on a camping trip or something like that. So it'll take any type of imagery. It's not exclusively built for URLs, although it has a tool for being able to quickly import an image of a web page in it. And that's really about it. It's not designed to be overly complicated. I needed to be able to implement a few features that allow the user to create multiple indexes, so that's been done. I need to do some of the limits on retention and things like that, so some permissions or quotas, if you will, for the users. And most of the authentication system is done. So what I think I'm going to do probably by episode 20 is I'm going to produce a video that won't be streamed. I'll just sit down and record it, and then I'll edit it and put it together. That will take all of the components of Mitta that have been built so far and pull them over and put them in the Grub project, which is open source. It's on my GitHub account, the new 2.0 version of Grub. And then I'm going to do a video on how to deploy that to AppEngine yourself. And it won't be the site itself, but it will be some components of the site. So it'll be, for example, it'll give you a shell, it'll give you the authentication, it'll give you a basic page that looks like this that you could use to build your own service or site if you wanted to. Obviously the APIs won't be the same. I'll strip out a bunch of the functionality of the site and just have some basic API calls that can be made to the service for maybe keys and things like that. So hopefully if you have an idea for building something on top of Solr and you want to build a new UI for it, this will give you a leg up on that. That's what I can do for giving back to the community in as much as I can. I'm not going to make all of Mitta's code open source though. I just can't do that yet. It's something that I have to keep it closed source because you're seeing a lot of the code in here anyway, so in theory somebody could probably go through most of the videos. By the time I get them done, you probably will have seen all the code, but at least that's a bunch of work that you'll have to do, and it doesn't mean the code's open source just because it's in a video. So it won't carry a license. So all of this code is technically copyright me unless I explicitly open source some of it. So hopefully by doing that I'll protect my intellectual property rights because I have written most of this code. I obviously use code like a platform like Flask or something like that, whatever you want to call it, a framework. I didn't write Flask, so I didn't write all the code that's required to run this, but I wrote a lot of it that does the specifics of it. Okay, I've talked enough. So let's see, how long did I talk? That's about nine minutes. That's a good intro. So we're going to jump into the APIs again. And it was interesting, I got an email from a friend today, and they worked at Splunk doing documentation, I think, and still doing docs, and I sent them this page, and I said, this is what I'm working off of. And I created this page first. Well, I created a prototype of the site, which I've been slowly rewriting, and the prototype basically allowed me to model what the APIs might look like by sitting down and writing this page. So I sat down and wrote this page first without actually doing any of what I had some of these methods done, but they don't work. None of them work the same way, and none of them work the same way as what is specified here. And then I've just been slowly running down the list. So if you're thinking about building a service and you might have APIs that you expose, not every service does that necessarily. I don't think every single offering on the web provides some type of API or necessarily makes it easy to talk to their APIs. In this case, because of the nature of it, I wanted to make it easy for people to talk to the APIs, because I think what can be built with it is more than what I'm building here. I'm just building these basic pieces that allow Solr and the crawler to be used in a very specific way. So what we're going to do today is finish up on some of these index calls, and then we're going to finish up on some of the search stuff as well. So I've had to jump to working on search because I have some of the indexing working. So I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between the two. And I did that with grub, the crawler methods, and the upload methods as well. So when I got to the crawl method, I did some of the crawl method, then I jumped to the upload methods because the crawl method required some of the upload methods. And like that, the indexing methods or the search methods require some of the indexing methods, and sort of vice versa. So you need to be able to search to verify that the indexing is working, I guess is an easy way to put it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do two things before I do this. Is number one, I've got my screen over here, and because there's a delay, I'm going to have to cover it up because it's distracting to me. But I have my little chat window open over here. So if somebody comes in and says hello, then I'm going to give you a shout out. And I'm really sorry about that yesterday. I mean, I stream mostly for myself, but I do it so that people will watch it. And that's the hope. Eventually, when I hit episode 50 or 60, I'll have a few viewers coming in and watching me every day, and we can hang out and talk. But until then, it's just me. And so if somebody does come in, I should be able to see them now, and hopefully I will talk to them. So I'll pick it up, because I don't, like, I wish this thing would bounce or something, or ping me or something. It just doesn't do that. All right, and one other housekeeping note, I need to go turn the music down because I think it's a little loud. I don't want YouTube picking up on it. I got a copyright strike, but they only prevented the video from broadcasting in like Korea or something, North Korea, which is okay. Apologies to anybody in North Korea wanting to watch me. You're not going to be able to do it on that episode. But I am going to go turn this down real quick. We'll be right back. Okay, I can still hear it, but hopefully you can't. All right, so I kind of got into this. I did write some code yesterday after the stream. I was going to do another stream, but I realized I had a lot of code to write. And what I ended up doing was deciding to pull this query document function apart and actually place it inside of the search. I'm going to mute myself here. I can hear myself. Mute. There we go. Can I hear myself over here? Okay, that's muted as well. I've got to mute myself two places now. Okay, so so what needs to be done here is we've got this search endpoint with the Sidekick ID. So we're calling, if we were to look at this, let's actually try to run this in here. I thought I deployed. Oh, I'm in the wrong directory. I need to deploy because something's broken in production. I left it broken. It doesn't really matter if it's broken. Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, where can I go look at it? And I'm like, well, it's at mitta.us. And then they're like, well, does it work? And I'm like, no. So it doesn't work. And if the server's down, it for sure doesn't work. Even if the code's okay, it still doesn't work. Let's see, we've got an error in line 61, so we're not actually going to be, let's go ahead and write our query though. So let's do our curl query. So we're going to do a curl, what we're going to do is we're going to call this search endpoint here. So we're going to say, we're going to do a get on this and we're going to pass a query. So ampersand Q, and then we're going to get the query back, and then we want to run the query. That's essentially what we want it to do. It's not anywhere close to doing that, but we're going to get it there today. So we're going to do HTTP because it's local. For me right now, it's localhost 8080, and then I think we're actually pushing broken code. So now that I think about that, no, wait, yes. Okay, terminate batch job, no, and it exits. Okay. Is that really true? Do you want to continue? Yes. And then I do a control C, terminate batch job, no. Huh, interesting. Okay, so that doesn't actually mean anything. Okay, whatever, Google. So we need the search endpoint, and then we actually need a valid sidekick to talk to. So let's go in here, because we're not running, let's go in and actually look at our sidekicks. Maybe we can do it on Mitta. Yeah, I think we can. I think we can still log in. I think it's just search. I think search is just broken. I think grub's broken too, but I think the rest of it's working. Okay, so type in our email address. That form box, it used to keep the email address, but then what was happening is I was getting a broken lock here inside of Chrome, and that was because Google updated the rules that said if you were caching someone's email address in the form, that it wouldn't validate the site as being secure. So I was like, okay, so I changed it. So let's see, 739. Okay, so it looks like we're talking to Slimy Brown Lizard. That's the index name for right now. And then we need to go over here, and that's where we're going to put right here is insert Slimy Brown Lizard. So we're talking to Slimy Brown Lizard, and then we need a token. And do we have a token in here? No. So then we're going to grab our token by typing in token. That's going to show us our token. And then we can clear the screen so that we don't continue to show our token. Not that it matters in a stream. And then we're going to shift insert here, and that's the call. And it's not working because it failed to connect, and that's because we have this error here, which we'll now fix. So line 61 of search.py has an error. All right, so what we did is I added in some code. So in this particular method, we should be getting up to here, and we should have, for example, a timestamp. And we should have a sidekick ID. Now we have to fix this thing down here, which it says line 61 in search, so it's this. What does it say to me? What's going on, Powershell? Yeah, you're saying invalid syntax limit. Here? Have I saved it? Let's try it again. Line 42. Oh, this line. Okay, whatever. Let's see, limit, is that what we want? We want start and rows. I don't want limit, so this is start. And that should be 0, I think. That's what I want. I don't know why I had a limit in there. So rows is the number of rows to return, and so let's see, and start is the offset. So if we wanted, that's for pagination. So if you start on 0, then you give me 20 rows, and that's 0 through 19th entry, or 1st through 20th entry. If I give a start of like 20 or 21, then it'll give me 21 through whatever. I think that's the way that Solr works. Now obviously we're going to have to figure that out here as well, so let me explain what's going on here. So when we're in the shell, and we type in something like search, that's not going to, oh, that actually did work. Oh, we're on production. When I type in search here, let me go into localhost. And we're not running because I need to save it. Start, this needs to be start, not limit. Where I got that idea. That should work. Oh, invalid syntax, line 65. Yeah, that one's wrong. I was working on renaming the collection core stuff, so I don't know. That should work for now. Yep. So this is, I'm just going to comment this out. That's for, I need to rename the collection, or the core, or the index, whatever you want to call it. Right now it's called the same thing as the sidekick's name, and I don't want to do that because it's not secure. So it's not as if somebody else could use that, it's just there's a possibility for a collision and in the namespace, and I don't want it to do that because then that would be a problem. If we got a collision, then two users would have essentially share the same index. And I was thinking about doing that as a feature, having an index shared amongst users, but I don't know about that because of the copyright concerns. You don't want to allow users to share copyrighted content, so can't do that. Okay, so here we have this line that gets posted. It gets posted over to the JavaScript endpoint handler, which then returns a search function, which is this search function here, and this search function then runs the search. So user types in a line, the line is parsed by the system by a common file, and then it's determined which function or command is run, in this case search, because I typed in search, and then that file is then loaded into JavaScript inside the browser, and then the browser kicks off a request to the search endpoint, which is then handled by this particular code. So you have this code runs in JavaScript on the browser, this code runs in Python on the server. All right, so let's see what happens when we do a query to it with curl. So it says local variable request referenced before assignment, line 33. Here. So it's not finding the line, which makes sense. So I was Googling around for a way to handle this without having to do a bunch of try excepts. I really don't know a good way to do it. It seems to me if the line is specified, which you could do in the API call, technically, you could do that in the API call. If the line is specified, then you can sort of assume that the person is running out of the shell, or at least pretending to be the shell. And so I'm gonna have to do a try here because this request form get throws an exception, as we can see here. So it says unbound local error, local variable request reference before assignment. Was that true? I don't think that's true, is it? We have a request right here. I thought it was just throwing an error because it couldn't find that it said line. Is that? Let's save this, all right? So I don't know the answer to this, so we're gonna find out real quick. So we're gonna do an ampersand line equals bang search star. Says event not found. Well, yeah, that's because we have to quote it. So we're gonna have to go up here and we're gonna have to quote that, and then we'll yeah, and then we'll quote this line equals bang search. And we'll put a %20 there because that's space and then a star. It's still saying not found. Why is it doing that? What if we just put nothing there? We just put line in there. Line equals foo. I'm not really interested in trying to. You know, it still says that. So it still says request form get line. That's not working. Okay. I remember we ran into this and I don't know why it happened. Did we print out our timestamp? So there's our timestamp and our index, or our sidekick. I actually have no clue why it's doing this. Doesn't make sense. Let me search for request here. So there. Oh, that's no bueno. So this should be Solr response. I think that trips it up. Let's see if that's the case. None. Oh, well, that worked. Okay, so here's a good one for you. So if you have an import that is a function, in this case, or an object. This is an object from Flask, which is representative when you're in this context. So when you're in a method that Flask is calling with a decorator. So you put decorators here, then Flask basically says, I have this function search that I'll call whenever I get a request to this endpoint. So at that point in time, when it enters search, it has context. Here at this point, request has context. But if you were to specify a variable in here, like this, request equals that, and then I ran it, then what we're going to get is an error that says local variable request referenced before assignment. And that's absolutely true because I'm using it up here, right there. So if I were to put request here equals, whatever, and then it becomes kind of obvious that this request is that request, and you're not going to get anything from that request that looks like this. That's going to be an error. So I had it in my mind yesterday when this happened at first that this was an error because form get wasn't populated. And I was like, well, do I have to try to catch that? But the answer is no. I just can't use request. So I have something else, Solr response down there, so I renamed it. Okay, now that we're over that little basic hurdle, now what we need to do is what? It says string object. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. String object has no attribute form, line 34. Yeah, okay, well now we're back to the error that I was talking about earlier. String object, let's see here. This is saved, so let's run that again. None type object has no attribute split. Now that's the error I'm talking about. So that's in line 53. Where we're calling time warp. So we're importing time warp from lib time warp. This is time warp. And time warp's down here at the bottom. Here. And it's saying none type object has no attribute split in line 246. Here. So that means argument is nothing. Okay? So I don't really know what to do if the argument is nothing. I don't know. What should I do? I mean, I could do a default equals today. That's one of them. So that should fix it. No, it doesn't. So it's saying none, even though I even told it to set it. I'm gonna take that out. So time warp is being called with an empty here. Well, we're down here, time word. Request form get time word. Can we do this? I don't know if that's none or just a blank line. We'll see. Yeah, the reason I'm using the curl command to do this is, number one, I'm working on APIs that will be used by people with using Python or JavaScript or curl or whatever. So the curl is the thing that I give as the example. In the case of none type object has no attribute split. So it's a none. It's a none type. So I need to say if it's none, if not time word. So it's a way for me to debug without having to go into the shell. Because in the shell, I have the search command in the shell, and that's not done either. So I need to can it. I mean, it's working enough that I could probably play around with it, but I can see the responses here very quickly, and I can also see my error. So I can run it, and then I can get the error. It's just easier for me to do it this way. Okay, so it says, still says none type object. Did I get the print? None would argue, would time word, none would argue. Okay, so let's try this again. Did I get that? Would time word. Yeah, we get would time word. So that's confirmed that that's where it's having a problem. So I don't need to do a try except. I just need to test to see if I actually got in the request form from the curl if I got a time word. Here I'm going to get a time word because the query handler, the builder here, this builder, this is for parsing the line. But in the case of not getting a line, the user needs to give me all of the components that are required, or I need to be able to handle them not giving them to me. And in the case of the APIs, there is a time query function. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to handle this. We're going to figure it out today. So that's what we're doing right now. But like I had stubbed out that they needed to give me a time query. I don't know if TQ should be the time word. I don't know. We're going to look. It's time warp is not going to work unless time word has a plus sign in it. That's just the way it works. So plus today, last day. I think last day is like last 24 hours is essentially what last day gives us. All right, so that should work. So let's print start end here, and we should get the start and end. That'll give us the Solr query, the Solr timestamp range. Should give us the Solr timestamp range. Solr query not defined. That's good. So here Solr query is not defined. Let's see if we got the start end. We did. So this is our start and end. So that should be, let's see, it's 11:06 a.m. on February the 19th. And this is actually Greenwich Mean Time, I believe. So that's 6:27 to 6. That's kind of odd. Why is that? To the 19th. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 11:06. I was confused for a second. So this is local time on the server. I believe Google's servers are set to GMT, and then locally my server is set to just whatever Pacific Standard Time. So this is Pacific Standard Time. So it would do a search from right now to, this is the 19th. Yeah, or yeah, right now to yesterday at this time. So 11 o'clock yesterday till 11 o'clock today. That's what it last day means. Okay, so Solr query is not defined. We already knew that. So we need to go in here and we need to say something. So what we're going to do is we're going to say Solr query equals star colon star. So what this means in Solr parlance is it means this is the all field names, all values. So it's basically a wild card. For whatever reason, you can't do this. Can't do something like that. You can't say search all fields for foo, but you can search all fields for everything. So that's just the way it works. You have to give it a field name. Well, we'd have to do something like text to search for food, or something like text for stock. We could do something like that. I think we can do that. All right, so let's do that, and then let's run it again, see what we get back. I'm hoping for a result. Sorry, I'm texting, but it happens. Okay, so connection was reset. Oh, hey, we got a response. And the response is, Solr says response 400. That's not a great response, honestly. Why is it? I think we have in Solr. So we're calling I say calling, we're using the search.json file. So we have the time word in here. I don't know, this is pretty pointless. This whole thing is pretty pointless. What we want to really return is all of the Solr stuff. So I think what we want to do is do something like this, which will probably break our other stuff, but that's okay. All right, so, and then that's the Solr response. So let's see what we get now. So it's response 400. And I believe that's because it can't be found. I think that's the story. So we've got the sidekick ID, the query, the Solr query. Am I modifying the sidekick ID anywhere? We're printing it out. Do we need a slash in here maybe? I don't know, maybe. Just 400. Let's print this. So it says, oh, yeah. There's two slashes in there now. Like a 400 is what? It's like just a general access denied, isn't it? HTTP code 400. Bad request. Saying invalid syntax. So Solr is returning an invalid request. It's saying that this is an invalid request. So what's wrong with it? Let's run it again. Let's see if we can see it. So we've got select, there's a plus sign here. I don't know if that's valid. I think that timestamp works. Rows equals none? That's not gonna work. It could be that. Why aren't rows set? Because we didn't get the rows. So we need to say if rows, if not rows, rows equals 20, start equals, I guess we don't need to define start because we're not using it. Let's try that. Well, we got a 200 back. That's promising. Let's do a JSON dumps on this, maybe? I don't know what the Solr response is looking like. I'm getting a feeling that the Solr response is a late, oh, I think that's text? JSON? I don't remember. We gotta put something there. Welcome to speech recognition. Welcome to Zombocom. JSON is not defined. Really? Oh, it's not. Dump missing one required positional argument FP. Well, that's dumps. It's not serializable. Let's just do this. I don't actually know if this. I think request allows JSON. Well, let's print it. When we do text, I'm gonna have to go look at the docs. What does it say here? Yeah, here's the response header. Well, it didn't find shit. Well, that's good. At least it's running. But I think that's because we haven't indexed anything. There's probably nothing in that index. Let's go look. So what are we querying? We're querying slimy brown lizard. There's stuff in here, but it was probably updated outside of our, I mean, that's at 7. That's at 7 o'clock last night. What are we? Oh, you know what? We're searching timestamp here. This thing, and it's actually up. I changed it to updated. Oh, I remember what the plus sign is for. The plus sign is, that's why I actually use it as a plus sign in Mitta. If you do a search, like the way that this is supposed to work is the star is like basically the text. So what Mitta does is it uses Builder to look at the line that the user types in, the command, and then it takes that and it extracts the command itself, which is search, and then any time words, so like last day, for example, and then anything else left over in the line, which such as this star, then just gets parsed as just regular. It puts that in a separate entry. That's just like the text entry. That's what I call it, the text entry. And so if we look at, when we're doing the search here, which we're in prod here, we're actually searching a separate, we're not searching the actual sidekick index, we're searching the user's index. And what it's doing is it's giving, it's translating this into that string that we see here. Something like this. It's weird there's no plus there. All right, let's run this again. Yeah. Okay, now we've got something. Now we've got results. This is great news. This is all the stuff we crawled yesterday. Okay, let me change the limit maybe? Can I do that? Can I just ask for 1? I'm not actually getting back the entry here, so I don't know that's going to matter much. What's going on, dude? Powershell, yo! Where are you? Well, it's still printing all of them? Why? What was my query? I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it in here. Here it is. It says rows 20 right there. I must be overriding that somehow. Let's see. If not rows, it says rows. So this needs to be Solr response.text, I guess. And then JSON dumps. I'm gonna run this again. There we go. Oh, that's hideous. Well, that's not gonna work. Maybe we just need to put it in here like this. We don't need to dump it. I think it's already formatted. Yeah, there we go. I'm really torn about sticking all these file names into the index. The tags need to go in there for sure, but I don't think the file names need to go in there. I mean, I have a copy of these already in the data store. I think that's where they need to be kept. I think I'm gonna pull them out of here. So found 18, it says rows here being specified as 20. Oh, there I did it again. I don't know why I did that, rows. I guess I'm equating limit and rows. Here we go. What is this? I think that's my curl. I don't understand what's going on here with so I need to do a dash S. I think that gets rid of the we've got a whole bunch of results again. You know what? I think it's doing, let's see here if we can do this. I don't know why this is all screwed up all of a sudden. It wasn't doing that before. So we could try quoting the whole thing. How's that look? Still giving me everything. And it's saying rows 20 again, even though I've told it rows is 1. What is going on? Okay, so rows here should be this. If not rows, rows equals 20. Form get rows. Let me get rid of this so it's not printing out that response. None. Yeah, weird. I mean, it's there. I see it in the query. I'm getting down to here. I know I'm doing this because it's saying none. I should really stop clicking on things in here. Okay, so it says, it's an arg to get, not a form. It's a form whenever it's a post. Here. So silly. Okay, let's try that. We should go back run results. There's our one result. Thank you. Number found 18, start 0, num found exact true, docs, and then this is the spool. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to like look in the description. However, let's take a look at search JSON real quick and see what we're searching for in here. So we're sending the line in, so we're going to get, so now we're going to flip over and we're going to actually use search. So I don't want to use prod for this because I'm not working on prod. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to log in. How am I doing on time? About an hour. It's about right. 246, 276. 246, 276. 36. And then I want to do a search, and whatever, doesn't matter. Internal server error reported. Builder is not defined in search py lane 36. Here. And that's because we have not imported it from lib builder import builder. Level variable Solr query reference before assignment. Don't click in there, Cord. It'll block. Okay, so Solr query is not being set up here as well, and so then that's text. So we're going to do something like Solr query equals text. So then we should be able to go in here and do this. Well, it looks like it did something. Let's look at the inspector and go and look at the network. So here's the query. And is there a response? Yes, there's a response. Now we can do something with this. So we're not doing anything with the response in search.js at all. So we'll see here, we're saying controller report data. That's pretty funny. So that's not going to work, I don't think. I don't know, what would it report and why would it report it? Let's do that and see what happens. And there's our response. I was doing something like grub. Yeah, so in grub, I'm printing out that stuff. So how do I do that? So it's like I print out the title. I don't know, I don't think I did this on stream, though I did this yesterday. So I added the title and the description here for Google News. Let's see what's going on in the news. Boy, Texas is just getting hammered. I guess it's still cold there. Well, it doesn't look like any good news at all. I'm looking for good news. I'm not going to read bad news. $3 million shots a day. That's good. Mexico's betting on coal. Axiom Space raises $130 million. Okay, back to work. So we're printing out this lame response. This response is not finished. So this is the response to index. So we're still working on indexing. We're on search just temporarily so we can at least verify that we've indexed something. Sorry, I hit the mic. I'll dance around it here. Okay. So that's the error. This is, there's the title, there's the description, does the post to the index, and then it prints out it right here. JSON stringify data. So this is what we need. So we're going to search, and then we're going to say controller report JSON stringify data. And because the console itself, when we say console.log, that's actually telling the browser to log into this console. This is why this response comes in here. And the console knows to take it and serialize it, but like raw HTML doesn't have any idea about that. So we're going to do that, and there we go. And we need to put a scroll in here, as always. The weird part about the scroll, you may have said to yourself, why does he put so many scrolls around? And the reason why is because JavaScript is asynchronous, and so you can, whenever you call controller report with a string, then if you don't scroll, if you don't scroll here, I've tried putting it in the controller report function, and for whatever reason it doesn't work. And it's because of some asynchronous thing going on. I have no idea why. Let's run this again. It should scroll. Did we save? No, we didn't save. We're going to clear. And then we'll run that again, and that should scroll to the bottom. And that's great. Now, we've got a little bit of a problem in that we've got some really long strings here. And I don't, for whatever reason, I guess we're going to have to fix. Let's see, so we're going to, let's see, HTML, CSS, break on non-space. I don't know, is that right? Wrap. Word break. Break all. I guess it's break all. Let's go into our style sheet. Style sheet for this site is not very complicated, and in fact probably has a little bit of cruft in it, honestly. It can be cleaned up a bit. I like to keep my styles simple. Let's look at the style. Let's look at this, and what do we want to apply it to? I think it's console. I think that's what's scrolling there. Terminal or console. I think console probably. So just console. This. So we're going to put, what does it say? Word break? How does that work? Word break, break all. Okay. Like that. And then we're going to have to do a refresh so we can get that new style sheet loaded. And then we're going to do that search again. And there we go. So that looks better. Okay. Disaster averted. Moving on now. Okay, so out of style. So we have some. So this is these are our search results, and I think it's just one of them. I really don't like seeing all those file names. So I could do something like this. I could say, what could I say here? What do I want? I'd like one image, and I'd like, well, you know what I'd like is I'd like to be able to actually search. So we're going to do that first. So one of the problems is if we go and look at this, this is the guy right here that we're looking at, I think. We've got a whole bunch of these. This needs to be fixed. So I'm not gonna, there's no way in hell I'm gonna keep all of these. I'll probably keep like 5 of them or something like that. So that needs to be fixed. Do I need to make a note of that? Probably. actually write it on the whiteboard. I'm going to write it on the whiteboard instead. Okay. Let's see here. So we need one of the file names, but we also need, this is all pre-sending this off to Google, by the way. We're going to send that image off to Google, and we're going to ask Google what they think is in it, and then we're going to take that text and we're going to put it in, we're going to put it into the index. So we're going to have to update this document with the text that Google gives us. But in the meantime, what I want to do is I want to take this URL, this title, and this description, and I want to create a field called text. And then I want to put all of that into that, all of that text into the into text. I think that's what I want to do. I'm not always guaranteed to have title and description necessarily. Well, I mean, see, the problem is I can't do this. That doesn't work. You can do the opposite. So I think you could say star on the title. So that'll give you all entries with titles. I think that's the way it works. So it has to have the field title. So I can definitely do that. And I can definitely do something like this. So I can search for something that says news. And I could say something that doesn't have news, maybe? Can I say I don't want it to have news? Right. No, that's an error. Not news? I don't know how this works. No clue. Maybe I say where it doesn't have title news. Looking for the inverse. That's right. That's the query right there. So when the user is searching, do we just tell the user to specify the field? I mean, that could be a possibility. So here I'm going to just do title equal news. Let's go and fix the number of rows. Well, the rows are going to be 20, which is fine for now, so we're going to need to fix this. See, I feel like by default, if somebody types in, let me clear this out. This is too much data. Let's look at a little bit simpler data here. So we're going to look at, I want to look at the URL. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this real quick. Down to here. We're going to copy this. And then we're going to go to pretty JSON or something like that. So we have a response. So we want it to report the response. No, this is data. And then docs. I guess that's what we want to loop on that, don't we? I used to have this code. I deleted it. So let's go in here and look at the source. Templates, commands, search. So this is going to be the doc. So let's see if that works. So what this says here is we're going to loop through the data that's coming back from the callback. I think that's a callback. So it does a callback to the done function. It then passes in the data, and then we're going to do a jQuery each on this for data, but then we're going to dig into the response. If we look at the JSON formatted thing, we have a response key, and inside the response key we have docs, and so we're telling it to go to here and then loop through these. This right here. So it's going to loop through this block, this array. And then it's going to give us an index, and then it's going to give us the document. And then we're going to stringify the document, and we're going to print it, we're going to report it to the console, and then we're going to scroll. Okay. Be that way about it. Maybe you're not going to work that way. Have we closed everything? What is wrong with it? I guess we'll have to ask the console. What is going on in here? Skull is not defined. Well, that was from earlier. So there's an error in this script. So I'm going to take this, and then I'm going to go over and I'm going to, well, I guess I'll just look at this. The problem's right here. And I noticed that I'm doing this line time thing, so I'm going to copy all that. Alright, let me look at this again. So this is that's it right there. I want to delete all of that, right? Yeah. And then this is going to stringify the doc. And if there's a public URL, I'm going to, well, that's just, let's look at it. Let's look at what we got coming back here. So we've got, I got rid of public, there's no such thing as public URL anymore. If there's a URL, so this is just URL here. This used to be the image URL, but I'm actually just looking for the URL now. Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to print out the URL, if there's a URL. And then all of this is just meh. And delete all this. I don't know that I want to do a div in there. But I do know I want to do an ahref equals. God, we're going to have to fix this. And then this is doc URL. Like this. Yeah. Plus we gotta close it. Like that. And then we're gonna say it again. I think that's right. I think that should work. Nothing. Well, it looks like it should console log something, so let's see here what it's logged. Apparently nothing. Cannot read property response of undefined. Oh, really? There's the response. Response docs. Well, I don't think there's anything called Solr. Because just looking at that, that doesn't say Solr in there. So that's some throwback thing. That's it right there. Well, it's not throwing an error. So what do we got in here? It says, reference error, count is not defined. Where are we doing that at? That's here. Yeah, we need to do something like that in our each. Not use our index there? Or whatever, doesn't matter. I think index, if we look at index, like that should be counting through them. So I don't think we need to specify count here. All of this stuff is in here just to like slow down the output and sort of make it look more natural. It's probably less than ideal. Still nothing. Console. Anything? Anything? 0. Count is not defined. Again. Oh. What? Thought I put that in there. Oh yeah, here it is right here. For the each. Bam! So all of these match news inside the title. So we could say something like this, maybe? I don't know. That's probably not going to work, so I'm parsing that out. What other things could we do? We could ask for everything. Yeah, there we go. Now let's index something. So something in the title that's interesting. So news.google.com. So this should say winter in it, I guess. So we're going to say localhost 8080. Okay, so it should be indexed already. So I'm going to search the title. Oof, I don't see it. What if we look in what it said to us? What was it? Title, Texas. Slimy brown lizard. Do we have anything in here? We have it. There it is right there. Why isn't this giving it to us? Inquiring minds want to know, where's my document? Silly thing. Here's the response. It says response header, title Texas, updated. Is my update time off? What if I search for it now? Nothing. Where's my plus sign? That's bothering me. I need to figure that out. It's because it's a requirement. When the plus is there, it's a requirement. So let's look and search. Let's save that because it wasn't saved. Start in time warp time warp, time word. It says updated. That says updated there. Right there. So if we print like that, there it says updated. Maybe it just strips it off. I don't know. Probably strips it off. When I say it, I mean Solr strips it off. Well, there's nothing coming back. Nothing at all. We're going to have to print the query again. So let's print this. So it says here, we're going to query slimy brown lizard, and we're going to query for title. It's got Texas in it. Am I being silly and we don't actually have Texas in the title? Is that the story? We're doing title Texas here and it's coming up. So that is working. And then what? What else we got here? Fully qualified search requires updated. Well, there's plus. Requires updated. Yeah, blot to blot. And then it's asking for 20 rows. We're getting diddly squat back. Well, let's take out the time, the Solr time query. So let's do this. And then let's run it again and see what happens. There's nothing in there. Why? Why? Why is it doing that? What am I saying in here for being able to query? Text? Nothing. Well, technically it's Q. So we need to do a Q equals request dot args dot get Q. Like that. This is running whenever I do a search in here. This is what runs here. So if I do a search over here, then Q equals star, like that. Blocking. Okay. And there's that entry. So if we say title Texas, we should get back that one document. There it is. So the API is working. It's kind of weird. Now keep in mind that what's happening here is that we're exiting here. We're not actually running any of this code here. this stuff right here is not running when we're running it from here. So if we do this, oh, well, there it is. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Why was it working before? Why wasn't it working before? Were we, I don't know. Title, query title equals rows equals 20. Wasn't that what we were doing before? Here. Oh, you know what? We took out the time. Let's put the time back in. Here. Where did it go? Here. This thing. Now let's run that and look for it. And see it doesn't come back. Our instance is down. Our instance is being shut down. Pew, pew, pew. Come on, Solr. It's shutting it down. If we look at the console log, yeah, there we go. It's down. It takes it a second to show us down. Refresh. There, it's down. Now I have to restart it. This is how you save money. So what you do is you create a deployment. So if we go over to GitHub and we go to Grub 2.0, how much time we got left? We're doing pretty good. We're an hour and 30 into it, and we're searching. So that's great. That's great news. That's what we wanted to do today. What did we promise that we were going to do? Solr searching. I don't know where the description is, but did anybody say anything to me? No one has said anything to me today. I'm so sad that I missed someone saying something to me yesterday. It was a hello. So hello. If you come in, hello. I don't think anybody's come in, but hello. If you're watching this later, hello. But we said that we were going to do that, and that's what we've done. So that's great news. So back to what I was going to say is if we go in here and we go to install, and then we look at this deploy Solr stuff right here, then you can go up here and you can see that the Solr scripts have a Solr deployment script that's in here, and this is the script here, starting here. It's a little weird looking because it's in this metadata block, start script. That's passed into Google, all of this. So it's passed all the way down to here. So every time the script starts, it runs this. So what it does is if it's installed it, if it's already run and started the machine before, and it's not just been shut down, but it's like a brand new machine, it runs all of this. But if it's been there before, this is all it does. It just starts Solr. Solr is ready to roll. It's already been installed. The difference is here is that we've got a shutdown script. Where's the shutdown script? I don't see it in here. I thought it was in here. I know that's not it. Let's go look at the instance. Did I not update that? It's definitely on the instance. Let's look at it here. So we're going to go down here to shutdown script. And this is the shutdown script. So what that does is it says to Solr, what happens whenever the Google comes along and says, hey, I'm done with this instance. You got to turn yourself off. It runs this shutdown script for you. This is Ubuntu. So it runs that script and it stops Solr. So Solr is cleanly shut down, and you're given like a minute or something like that. It doesn't take it very long to shut it down. Shuts it all the way down. Now the reason I'm using this is because it's just a single Solr instance. So it's not Solr Cloud, it's just a single Solr instance running. And so if we talk to Solr Cloud, we'll have to change some of the calls that we're making to Solr. I don't know why they did that, but that's just the way it works. So if you're making a call into a single Solr instance, you make one type of call, one type of REST call, and then if it's another Solr Cloud, then you make another type of call. And so that's just because they shard the data, and the collections become a word. So an index is held in a collection. So a collection contains, I think, multiple indexes. And in the case of a single instance, it's a core. So the index is stored in a core, and that's what we're using right now. So if we go in here and kind of look at it this way, we can go to core admin. And the reason why it says core admin is because it's an instance, not a cloud that we're talking to. Okay, so we should be back up. Let's query it again. Nothing. Do we put that Solr time back in there? We did. Can I query here? Slimy brown lizard, right? And then if we put in here, we're going to put title Texas. That works. So why is it not working in here? It seems to be intermittent. What about this? Well, look at that. That doesn't find anything either. How odd. And it's because the date is in there. So if we take this out, and I say take it out, we zero it out, then let's look at this. Then we find it. And we'll probably find it here too, right? Yeah, we do. I almost feel like maybe Solr is not treating that as a timestamp. I don't know. Like this thing is just a string to it, maybe. We have another index that's got these. This does work. There's something about this timestamp. I'm not remembering it correctly. So there it's called timestamp. I wonder if I changed it to say timestamp, would it be different? Let's see, core admin, core selector, schema. Timestamp. Indexed. Date, point, field, timestamp. And then let's go look at the updated date, point, field. Let's go back to timestamp. Type pdates. Type pdates. I mean, it looks like a date point field to me. Let's look at tags. Text field. Copy to tag string, which makes sense because it's a list. How about source type? Text field. Source type string, because it's also a list. Everything becomes a list. I don't know. Why is that not working? Let's go look at search. The old search stuff. So let's look at this. So we've got something in here that says timestamp. Solr time timestamp. It's got a plus on it for timestamp. Well, let's try putting Solr time as this. So let's see what happens when we do that. So instead of just zeroing it out, we'll just actually put it in there. But we're going to change this to where we say this is updated. That's not going to do anything. But maybe it will. Okay, so that worked. And then if we look at the query, we should see it as saying updated here, right? And that's the FQ. Let's go look at, real quick, I just want to look at the Solr parameters real quick. I want to see what this function queries. I think that's right. No, it's not function queries. It's FQ, common query parameters. Filter query. FQ defines a query that can be used to restrict the superset of documents that can be returned without influencing score. It can be very useful for speeding up complex queries since the queries specified with the FQ are cached independently of the main query. When a later query uses the same filter, there's a cache hit and the filter results are returned quickly from the cache. Okay. Those are fieldless parameter. I mean, I think I'm using that right? I don't know. I feel like I'm using it right. Restrict the superset of documents. So you're basically saying before you run the query, which in our case, we're running a query here on title Texas, that's our proper query. So if we put, in here, if we put something like this, plus last day, then that last day gets translated into, which should work. I don't know why that's not working. I think that's because it's forcing it. Why is that not coming back? That's because I clicked in here again. I really need to stop clicking in there. Okay, so that works. But if I say yesterday, I think it's going to work anyway because I'm overriding it in here. So, okay, I'm going to delete that, and in theory, this will not work. Nothing. Now what if I do last day? Nothing. Nothing. Right? Here's the query. So it's saying updated here. Is it because, oh shit. Let's try this. I suspect I know what's going on. I don't think that's going to matter. See, that works. And then I bet you a nickel this is going to work. So we want title news. How about Texas? Nothing. What if we subtract this? then we get it. Why? Why is that? What does this range say? It says, this says 0219, 19, so that's 7:50 in the evening. This is not the same. This thing was updated. That thing was updated at 7 o'clock tonight. I'll be damned. And it's only 12 something. So I have no idea where that date's coming from. Where is that date coming from? So it's working. But it's odd because if I don't understand. If I do a query here, well, so if I do a query here, that should come back. That's not coming back. And the reason it's not coming back is because I'm grabbing this right here, where, like I'm in here, right? And I'm asking for the time word, and if the time word, there's no time word, I'm gonna say last day, and then start in equals this, and then that doesn't match. Because time warp is not running on a machine that's set to GMT. But this got updated. And the reason it got updated to that is because whenever we create it, oh geez, where's it? It's getting created, not there. It's getting updated on the index. So we're indexing it here. Index a document here. Okay, so we indexed it. Why would that be different there? And then we're adding the document to Solr. So that's where it's going into Solr. I'm not actually using the timestamp here. So the document is coming in from the request, which was done from the crawl. We're close to the answer here. You can feel it. Well, we're asking the spool when it was updated. So if we go in here and we look at Google, is it because Grub's updating it? Grub's updating it. Build a return object value. So that's crawl, but then we're flipping over to upload. And that's the create. There's the time string. So if we go in, let's go in here and look at this real quick. So it's in data store entities. I guess we've been having this problem for a long time, I think. And then what do I want? I want something that was updated recently here. All right, there you go. Well, all those look pretty normal, if you ask me. That's 1150. That's 1308 yesterday. We've only got one entry. That says 750. That's 750 at night. 1950 hours. Where the hell did that come from? Because here's the entry. Oh, it says PST. So it's converting it to PST for me. But then if I look at it from, oh. So that's not GMT. GMT would be +8 on that, which would be, where we were talking about. It says here, it says 5002, so that's right as far as up until the 19, but here, so that's +8 to GMT. So it's off because my machine is off. My machine is not running GMT. So I need to handle that somehow. I don't know what's going on there. What I wrote down is I'm going to handle datetime with local dev. It seems to be working though. So let's go back. Let's not spend any more time on this because this is something that is going to be sort of quietly fixed. I need to not be talking out loud to think about this because it seems like when I'm putting it into, let's look at the models real quick. We can like do a little bit of debugging of it so that we're not just walking away from it in the stream. So if we look in here, we have an updated datetime property. And so when we do a create here, we're saying datetime UTC now. So let's go look and see what that means to us. So what Stack Overflow is saying is that datetime UTC now, which is what I'm using there, doesn't set the time zone info to indicate that it's UTC, but it is UTC. And the reason that is set there like that with the UTC now is because the updated field in the entity storage on Google, it requires it. I mean, it's just what it requires. This is the format it uses, which is not the format that Solr uses. And so when I query this, and I do that here, let's see here. I don't do any of that here. There's something called timestamp. This all needs to be fixed. This is the index response. That's the localized timestamp. So that's just a timestamp for the response itself. It's not actually for whatever's being indexed. Whatever's being indexed is here, this document. So the document is coming in from, the documents are coming in from the Git JSON response. And in the case of Grub, and this is going to vary because of, like, you can upload whatever you want into the spool, any type of document you want into the spool. If we look at probably be best if we just look at the data, this thing. So we say created here, which should probably be updated. I'm gonna have to sort this around a little bit, but that's probably needs to be updated. But this is universal time here, so I'm saying this thing was updated at a certain point. Like, this is the date stamp for the document. And so whenever that gets stuck in, when I run this, when I run that curl command and upload these two documents into Solr using the index method, this thing right here, this one right here, then this Git JSON will allow me to loop through those two documents. Let's go back to that real quick. Where did it go? this one. So it's going to go through this document, and then it's going to send it. So it's going to add that document, and then it's going to go to the next document, and it's going to add that document. So I don't know, do I need these in here? I don't know. I feel like I should be able to say what they are when they're updated. But then the whole thing is that with the spool, which is what we're looking at over here, these are the spools. This is just like, yes, I could upload a spool this way, or I could index a spool this way. It ends up going into the index. But I am always querying the spool first and then sending it. So when I query a spool, it's going to have an updated value there that comes out of this. And it's going to be translated for me. But in the case of me uploading it by hand, well, I mean, I could put it for whatever I want it to be. So I need to do something here. I don't know what I need to do here, but I'll have to figure it out. I'm going to save that and just close it. I'll come back to it here in a little bit and figure it out offline. But in the case of Grub uploading this, then what's happening is here is I'm creating a crawl. So we're going into crawl. And where I'm coming from here is I'm coming from just here. I'm just looking at this Ajax call. We're going into crawl, and then this is doing a post. I'm getting a timestamp, and then I'm passing it into, I'm doing a spool create, and then I'm grabbing the current time, which is UTC, and I'm updating it, and then I'm doing updated, which I'm not using anywhere, and I'm passing it in here, and it's popping out in spool, the spool template, which is here, this one. And then you get the timestamp, which is for the response, but then you're getting updated, which is being calculated again. Go back to it. Where'd Grub go? Crawl. Is getting updated here. Here. And I'm updating it off of the time string, which is UTC, and then I'm passing it in here as updated. So the timestamp's the timestamp of the response. The updated is the value of that I'm returning. I'm pulling it out of the spool is the value that I'm returning out of here. So somehow that translation, somewhere between here and here, there's a translation. Like I'm going from UTC PST, well, I'm going from PST to here, and it's not working. And so that's why whenever I'm constraining the search, and I'm putting in these timestamps, it's calculating the timestamps locally for me here, and then generating those, but those are technically should be up converted from the machine here to UTC. So that's what's happening. Okay, so now I sort of know what the problem is. I can go off and fix it. So I need to go back in here, and I need to say if start end, yeah. I just need to say here, I just need to say Solr time equals, for now, updated to start. Now we'll go back in here, and we're going to run this, and it should give us our entry. Okay, now how much time do we have? We've only got about 6 minutes, so we've gotten caught up in a bunch of errors as usual. I mean, that's kind of what's interesting about, maybe what you find interesting about this if you watch it. Nobody's watching right now, just me. But when I go back and watch this, how about that? I'll stick to what I know. When I go back and watch this, what I notice is that I run into a bunch of problems, and then I work through the problem. So this is sort of a stream where the whole series is sort of a stream of like, yes, we're building something, which is this overarching goal, but then we run into a whole bunch of problems as we're doing that, and we have to work through them, and that's exactly what programming is. So if you program, this is just what it is, day after day after day after day of problem solving, and hopefully you get to the point where you can problem solve quicker by knowing the problems, but you also notice the more code you write, the more questions you have. So the more complex something becomes, the harder it is to maybe tease apart what you're aware of in a moment. If you write 3 lines of code, it's not going to take you very long to figure out what's wrong. If you write 3,000 lines of code, it's going to take you much longer. So the more complex you create, more complexity you create, the longer it takes you to figure out something when it goes wrong. So that's obviously why a whole bunch of things are important, like testing and frameworks and things like that make your job easier, and in theory. But in reality, it always gets complicated, and you always end up spending time doing these things. So what we can do in closing, and I don't want to go like I did yesterday and go over here. I will definitely, it's 12:28 and I have nothing else to do today, so I'll definitely be cranking out another stream today after I work for a little bit on fixing it, cleaning this stuff up. Is that what we want to do here is we want to return an image. Seems like a reasonable thing to do. So let's look here, inspector. We're going to go in here and we're going to look at our response, and we've got docs and our 0th entry, and then we've got the upload URL, which is going to be required for, or actually the spool. So the spool name, so we need the spool name. So let's try to grab that real quick. I think I'll just report the spool name real quick. So doc, that should do the trick. It's good to be searching. That didn't work. So if doc URL, is it just name? It's just name. All right, so that's the spool, and then we need one of the file names. Can I do this? Hold on, maybe. Nope. File names. Nope. What is it called? Does it not have one? Doesn't have any file names. Hey, where'd it go? Give me back my entry. There's no file names in here. What happened? Grub never responded. Nothing? Nope. Okay, well, let's tell it to index it again. Actually, let's tell it to index Mitta. So it didn't image it. I don't know why. So there's Mitta's image. There's that image. I don't know why I didn't image it before. We'll have to figure that out. Sometimes it doesn't work. All right, so now if we run search on that, we should get back something. There we go. There's the file name right there. Okay, so we need the first file name though. So we need like file name 0. We don't want to show all of them. Still the same thing. Great, that's great. So now we know the location of it. So what we actually need to do is we need to do another entry that says controller report. It's actually like this guy right here. This is what we want. So let's look at Grub and see what we're done here. Here. Blah. It's not spool name or last bag, but we could call it that. I always use last bag. Usually is like the last entry in an array. But in this case, it's the first one, so it's not last bag, but whatever, doesn't matter. So then we're going to report that, and we're going to take out that click function. So that should give us the picture. It doesn't, for some odd reason. Why did it print it out twice? It did print it out twice, didn't it? Or does that just mean it did? Why is it printing it twice? Let's take that out. Here. Yeah, right here. We need to scroll. Oh, there's 2 entries. Dude. Why are there 2 entries? Oh, there's 2 entries because I indexed it twice. This is a problem. We gotta fix that. Okay, so we'll put back in the. We'll put that back in, and then we need to put back in a scroll, and we'll do that. And then we're gonna say foobar image wrap style height blah 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 spool name. Source D spool name last bag plus something. We were printing out the image name. Oh, plus the end for the HTML. The question why it didn't do it. So let's print. Let's controller report. I know I'm running. I'm probably out of time. Last bag. So that should be sort of the URL. Where's my scroll? Yeah, that's it right there. So it found one of them. Can we do this query? That's better. Huh. That's pretty funny. Not a whole bunch of them. I guess I need to put. Probably need to put a plus here. Nope, because that's going to treat that as a. I can't use that syntax in there. I'm going to have to fix that. What I need to do is I need to say something like this. I don't know what I'm going to use, but it could be, maybe I do something like this. That's not a good one. It's got to be something like, I don't know, a question mark or something like that. So then what that would say is it has to be like the query Texas, for example, that gets stuck in there. Then I would use the title. as the field name. I'll have to figure that out. Okay, so I'm rambling again. So what is going on here? Why is this not working? So source /d spool name / last bag. And we're definitely printing it out. Here it is right here. Well, let's look at it. Let's look right here. Inspect. Well, I'm telling the sidekick to say it, but I could just tell the controller to record it. So let's try that and see what happens. I feel like it's not sticking it in there. We could do something like this. Now we need an image. Like that. There's the image. That's this image. So if we take that out, take this out, and then we put in this, which we know is working. This is this. That. Yep. That doesn't come until later. Here. And then doc. What do we say? File names 0. Like that. There's something wrong with that. So that's a string. Then that's the name, the spool name. And we have another string plus that. So we put a slash between them. We get that. We then finish up the string with the end quote, like that. That's it. Let's save that and see what happens. Error, of course. Let's delete that stuff, because I think that was the problem maybe. There's a scroll right there. I don't know why it's not scrolling. Okay, well that's better than nothing. So let's look at this, inspect. And it says we need a D. I say we need a D. Put a D in there and then we can see it. Bam! There it is. And I mean really, I can't even, this is just phenomenal. It's a little off. Well, we got a bunch of news there. Winter storm devastates Texas as power outage continues. We don't want it this big. So in order to make it smaller, we'll do that later, but we're 10 minutes over, and so we're done. So thanks for joining me. If you like the stream, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Click the notification bell. Please drop me a line. Put a comment on the video if you watch this. I just need to know that you care. I watch this, so I do it for myself, so that's the most important part for me right now, but it is important that other people come in and start joining in the conversation. And yesterday we had somebody do that. Actually, my son has come in several times and done that, so kudos to him for supporting me. Thank you very much. You're awesome. If you want to watch him, he's pseudosoup on twitch.tv/pseudosoup. He plays video games, and he's quite good at them, actually. So anyway, I'm Cord Campbell. This is Coding Mitta. Hope to see you soon. Be sure and go and sign up at Mitta, mitta.us, and stay tuned for some awesomeness. Take care and have a great day. I'll see you later.